Malcolm Gladwell is the author of 5 New York Times bestsellers, including The Tipping Point and David and Goliath. His narrative podcast series, Panoply's Revisionist History, is back for its 3rd season. The show explores events and ideas from the past that are often overlooked or misunderstood. It is #1 in Apple's podcast rankings.
The longtime New Yorker writer is now sharing his skills with everyone. His first online writing course is now available through MasterClass. In this preview clip, Gladwell discusses creating suspense in nonfiction.
Narratives are about the resolution of problems. That's what a narrative is. I set up a certain kinds of things, and then I solve all of the little questions. I answer all the questions you have in your mind. With suspense, there's certain questions I don't answer. And so your natural reaction as a reader is, wait, why? Right? So there's no reason why suspense should be specific to movies or television shows or fiction. You can do exactly the same thing in a work of nonfiction. You can withhold.
And without further ado, no suspense here. Malcolm Gladwell at the table. Great to have you here.
Good to be here.
So why did you decide to share it in this way, your experiences?
I just thought it'd be fun, and also, I think that everything in the media world is exploding and changing so quickly that I think if you're a writer, you have to start exploring other ways of reaching your audience. That's why I do the podcast, and that's why I wanted to do MasterClass, just because I don't think you can. If I only write books, I feel I'll lose contact with a large portion of the population.
What did you learn by being intentional and thinking about how to teach writing? What did you learn about, or did you learn anything about your own process and your own writing?
What's funny, I've never kind of reflected about it before.
Feel free to do so now.
So I've never thought about people say, well, do you have a process? And I would say, I don't know, I've never thought about that. I just sort of do it. So for the MasterClass, I actually sat down, and as I prepared for doing it, I thought about, well, how do I approach the task of writing? And so it was really an interesting kind of moment. It's like being on the couch at the shrink. You know, you sort of get a window into your own mind for the first time.
Do you worry about sharing your tips that someone will try to copy your style, or do you just say there's only one Malcolm?
Well, I wouldn't have done that when I was 25.
You would not.
I'm so old, Gayle, it doesn't matter. People can copy me, it's fine.
But what does revisionist history, I love the tagline, things that are overlooked and misunderstood. What does that give you that writing doesn't? You're a best-selling author. What do you get from the podcast that you don't get from your books?
Well, there's things you can do with sound.
Yes.
So one of the podcast episodes that's coming up, I have an interview I went to Nashville and I interviewed Jack White and then this extraordinary singer named Casey Bowles. And Jack White was sitting as far away from me as you are, and I'm right there, and you get to listen along as he plays Elvis songs for me. And it's just this moment of incredible intimacy.
Cool. And he very rarely gives interviews, so that had to be very special.
It was amazing.
And is that the key to podcasts, is that sense of intimacy that you have with the audience? And so if that's the key, then how, as a person creating it, how do you play with that in a way you wouldn't with writing? Or
I could explore, like in the episode that came out last week, which was a piece about football and my increasing discomfort with the risks and costs of football. And it's all about a family who lost a son to football.
Because he was diagnosed with CTE after.
And took his own life.
Yes.
And, there's something we could do with a podcast that I couldn't do on the page, which is I'm sitting in the room with the mom, the dad, and the brother, and the sister-in-law, and the kids, and the dog, and it's all happening all around you, and it's just. That's what makes it moving and powerful.
Yeah, that was a heartbreaking story, actually.
Yeah.
And you actually sort of call you pen on the carpet, too, because it doesn't seem that they have taken steps to do anything about it. I want to talk about you call it a shaggy dog story. First, what is a shaggy dog story? I thought that was something you made up.
No, shaggy dog story. My father was English, and the English love shaggy dog stories. They are long, pointless, detailed stories with excessive narration with a pointless punchline.
Yes,
So-
and you set it up with the next story about semicolon. I don't mean to be insulting, but at the end I go, I think this was a Shaggy Dog story.
Some of us love Shaggy Dog stories. I'm going to stand up for them right now.
I
they?
will deny that it was a Shaggy Dog story. No, it looked like a Shaggy Dog story, but we're talking about the first
and it
episode of
barked
this
like
year.
a Shaggy Dog
Yes.
story.
And it's a long, hilarious story about the semicolons in the Constitution and how there's a huge political question that can be resolved if you interpret a semicolon in a specific part of the Constitution a certain way. And so I go and I sit down with Mary Norris, who is
The copywriter.
an old copy editor from the old.
Copy editor, yeah.
A brilliant copy editor from the New Yorker, and also this incredibly hilarious law school professor named Michael Stokes Paulson. And we just have fun with this phrase, and then we talk about, oh my God, if the semicolon is a certain way, then American politics could change overnight. I'm not going to give away the...
Yes,
Right.
please don't. Yes.
There are lots of
Provided
those.
a lot of suspense there.
There was a lot of suspense.
It was very extensive.
And
yes.
you see the writing process. There are lots of little suspense, little teases in the structure, so you get little writing lessons too.
I'm thinking, Malcolm, you and I have different ideas of hilarious. But it was very...
Are you saying you didn't enjoy that episode?
No, I didn't say. I just said you and I have different ideas of hilarious. But I highly, highly, highly recommend the podcast, and it's always good to see you, always. You're great fun. Malcolm Gladwell, Season 3 of Revisionist History is available wherever you like to get your podcast.